never felt so close to anyone in my life.
Because I'm growing out of your shoulder.
Hello! Hello!
That fell apart.
That's probably going to be really bad.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between.
Hello!
So we're a week late for this video?
About a week late.
Yeah, so we watched Civil War.
Last week.
Yeah, last Thursday.
And we watched it with this dumb kid.
About five hours from now, a week ago. So,
yeah.
So it's fantastic.
Yeah. Today we are joined by our buddy Jeffrey.
Yes, he saw it with us.
He saw it with us.
Oh, and Wonder Woman's here.
We're gonna talk about it a little bit, but I first.
Where do we begin with this movie?
Well, I first want to talk about like how I felt about this movie when it got announced. Because like at first I'm like, oh, they're doing Civil War. That's interesting.
Well, no, like whenever it was first announced, they're like they start listing off the movies for like the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe lineup, and it was called like Surfing Embassy or Surfing Society or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I guess it's another Hydra movie. And then like they got to the very end and they're like, oh, we were just kidding about that Surfing Society. It's actually Civil War. And that's how they left and dropped the mic and ran away from the screaming fans.
And so Civil War is a very big Marvel comic book. Like I've read a chunk of it and it's fantastic. Like it's I believe it's written by Mark Millar and it's really good. And Mark Millar has a very bad history of movies being nowhere near what his comic book was.
So he's got Alamorism?
With Wanted and Kingsman. No, even worse.
Oh.
It's even worse. Yeah, with Wanted and Kingsman. But this movie's no different in that respect.
No,
but it's
in that respect, but it's still good.
It is very good. Movie. Like those other two movies, Wanted and Kingsman, this is really good in and of itself.
But it's not Civil War.
And at first
it is, but it's just different.
Yeah.
It's not comic book Civil War.
At first,
they don't have enough people, and you can't do the actual comic Civil War. There's too many people.
There's differences in what's going on also.
Yeah,
but at first when I heard the announcement, I'm like, that's really cool. Like Civil War is one of my favorite Marvel comic books. That's going to be really interesting. And I thought they were going to do something different. And I'm not going to say what. But I'm being very vague. But
facetiously vague.
Yeah, but it was.
That came out completely with different words.
But I was very excited, and then I saw the trailer, and I'm like, this isn't Civil War. No, it's not Civil War, and I was worried that this was gonna be kind of one of those meh Marvel movies, because we've had a couple of those meh Marvel movies, like
Thor,
the first Captain America movie, Thor. I hate that fucking movie.
Really?
We can fight about that later. I hate that fucking movie.
I mean, I had right before I graduated, which was because they announced Civil War way long ago,
well,
and
they announced all of them so long ago.
Well, they even gave the like teaser trailer for it way long ago.
Yeah,
over a year ago. And I had a friend who. He talked to me about it, and like we had both read the comic. I haven't really read it all the way. I just
You played Marvel.
I read it.
You played Marvel Ultimate Alliance too.
No, I didn't. But anyway, like me and him were talking.
I'm the only one that knows about that, and that's Civil War.
No, I haven't.
Am I the only person in the universe besides Alex who showed me it?
Probably.
Nobody played those games.
But like. Me and him were
Shut
talking.
the fuck up, Drew. That game never existed. There wasn't a second one.
We were talking.
No, I don't think
we were talking, and he's like, "Yeah, it's not gonna be Civil War." And me and him discussed this, and I said, "Well, I didn't plan on it being me personally because when they announce a lot of those titles, I feel that the way they've set up a lot of these movies." it's not gonna be exact to comics.
Yeah,
because the capabilities, not only that, but time.
Yeah.
Those comic books have so much in them.
Yeah, but there's some differences in like what like obviously why they are doing this. Like they actually like have a more concrete reason why they are having this act in the movies than they do in the comic book. The comic book is just kind of like, well,
I don't like you.
Yeah, but like,
I thought it was a registration thing in the comic.
It was a registration thing.
Or was that
but
an X-Men?
There was a difference in what they did when they registered, because in the comic book, it's like not only are you like not only are you and your powers and what you do government property, but you have to make your identity public.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's the difference, and they don't do that in this movie, which
they kind of
is one of the.
Everybody kind of knows who they are, though.
That's the other strange thing. Like besides like Black Panther and Spider-Man and Ant-Man, everybody pretty much knows who these guys are.
And in these, I feel that the only two people who like would be super opposed to this that weren't Spider-Man and Black Panther, which in the movie they already know Black Panther is T'Challa. But in this,
I don't care.
Yeah, but the way the Marvel universe they've set up is not so much like DC. DC is very different, and they are, if you notice in DC, they have lots of rules for themselves. They keep themselves in check a lot.
Yeah.
Batman doesn't kill, Superman doesn't kill, unless it's necessary. They keep their
unless it's Batman v Superman.
Well,
yeah,
we're not.
Unless it's this new movie.
We're not talking about that god awful.
We're talking
movie.
about the universe. We're talking about the universe. But
what? I value human life so much more than you do.
but like in DC, like they keep themselves separate from their superhero lives so that they can try to have a normal life with other people.
And in the comics, that is true in the Marvel universe.
Yeah,
like,
but
nobody knows who Captain America is in the comic books. In the movies, like that's public knowledge. Like
but it also
in
kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, like nowadays, not knowing some of this stuff when it's so big and like life altering,
it would be kind of
with
silly.
Today's technology, everybody knows who everybody big is.
Yeah.
So
Except
like
Spider-Man.
Well, he's not big yet.
Well, yeah, but I feel like the way
he's still running around in a tracksuit.
I also
and goggles.
I also feel like the way they're setting up this Spider-Man, like he's going to be one of the few in the MCU that has a secret identity still, and they are gonna still have those, but like they did what the Wachowskis did with V for Vendetta. They adapted, well, different but sort of similar. The Wachowskis did with V for Vendetta because they needed to adapt what the world was, so it was something that would be scary to people when the movie came out.
Yeah.
Whereas with Civil War, they adapted what the conflict was about to make it fit with the MCU, because
and with modern day
the issues with them the issues with them
the Civil War comic.
Yeah,
I want to say maybe 90s.
Yeah,
Early 90s?
I don't remember, but
can't remember.
the issue with the knowing of the identity was like the key thing in the comic book, whereas that wouldn't be as much of a problem in the MCU at this moment in time, because
like,
Iron
hey,
Man's like,
we found Stephen Rogers, that World War II war hero that disappeared. He's back and he's still alive after being in ice for years. So like, oh,
secret.
yeah, but
Tony Stark is Iron Man.
Oh,
Well, that's
I am Iron Man.
That's
Wally West.
well, that's
Mark.
one of the reasons in Civil War why Iron Man's on one side and
Yeah.
Cap's on the other, because Iron Man, and the Fantastic Four and a bunch of other people, all their identities are already public, so like this isn't a big issue. But there's one real kick in the comic book when Spider-Man goes public. And he, like, his family gets come after, and he gets, like, beat to shit when he's not ready for it, because people know where to find him and who he is. And that's one key difference between the comic book and the movie, is there's a lot more weight in the comic book than in the movie.
Because to me, in the comic books,
Well,
when they were written, they're for
it's a
one
little bit debatable, but that's for the spoiler.
Yeah.
Later on.
But even so, like there are moments where you're like, oh, but
Oh no!
They don't-
No!
but they don't really amount to anything.
No, because like to me in the comic books, the amount of villains and just bad stuff that happens is a lot more.
Well, yeah.
Is so much more than in the MCU and even in the DC movies, because and the reason
they're so
is
much more limited, though.
because
Yeah.
they're limited, and not only this, but it has to seem more realistic, I think, than in the comic books. Not necessarily
Except
because
it's less realistic because of like how few, like, this is a movie that's supposed to be about consequences.
yeah.
And there are moments when like shit gets real,
Oh yeah.
but like by the end, it just everything's fine. Like nothing super awful and irrevocable has happened. And that's one of the key differences between the comic book
Yeah.
and the movie, I feel, is the comic book, people die. Like, bad shit happens.
Well, that's for the next vague movie.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
this was
know.
basically an Avengers movie without being an Avengers.
But
Yeah.
there was an interesting point brought up on this podcast that I listened to. It's Beyond.
Why do you keep saying that this podcast that I listen to? You listen to only one.
Pretty much. Shut up. They brought up this point, like, it does feel like there's not a lot of growth and moving forward for all of the characters in this movie, but for Captain America there is quite a bit.
Yeah,
and that's why it's a
mostly Captain America.
And that's why it's a Captain America movie. And that is so well handled, I feel like, because like we've been talking about the stuff that where like it's not like the comic books, it's not like as heavy as it's supposed to be, but this is a really good movie.
Oh yeah.
Like,
It's just different than the comics.
there
which
are
needs to happen in a lot of cases.
yeah, but there are a
Ratchet and Clank.
there's one issue. The one issue that I had is it's just not heavy enough. And I understand that where we are in the storyline, they don't have enough heroes for that for like something big and cataclysmic to happen like that.
Not
yet.
X-Men.
Yeah, but
Because X-Men, you
yeah.
can kill off some main characters and be like, oh, we got more.
yeah, but this is like the middle of
We're breeding all of them.
but this is like the middle of the story. We still have Infinity War Part 1 and 2.
Remember that really old movie Empire Strikes Back?
Good gosh.
We s-
is this
We,
spoiler?
we still have Infinity War 1 and 2 coming, so like we can't have
Ragnarok.
something as
Ragnarok, Doctor Strange,
something as
Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
They're
yeah.
making that?
I'm just
Yeah, that's coming out, I think, before Thor Ragnarok or after Thor Ragnarok.
it has to come out before Infinity War, but
Yeah. Like, next year is Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and Ragnarok.
yeah.
Sweet.
But
When
still
are they
have Doctor
changing
Strange.
actors? That's when I want
they
to
can't have something that is just something big just happened and a lot of people are gone. And that's what Civil War is supposed to be, and that's not what this movie was. And
That's a something that I had the problem with Avengers 2 was
Yeah.
Ultron is the baddest dude to hit the Avengers next to like Galactus and like Thanos. Gods.
Thanos needs to have his moments.
Yeah, because like
Doctor Doom.
yeah, like these guys who were considered gods.
Murdoch. And
More
the Mojoverse.
well, because like Ultron like
I don't think we'll get to those.
destroys Captain America's shield and like almost kills Thor and Hulk. Has purged the world in some universes, purges the world into eternal like despair and darkness for like 50 years, even forcing the Avengers to say, okay. And like
he's basically like what Dragon Ball Z wanted to do with Cell.
yeah,
But they couldn't.
yeah, and he's so scary. And in this one, they just shove him away.
But let's talk about the good stuff, because
Yeah.
there is a
There's
lot of
so
good stuff.
many.
First off, as an action movie, like the action sequences in this movie are so
Like they're far.
beautiful.
They're far, and there's fewer than like in some of the other movies.
Yes.
But they are so meaty.
That first chase scene with Cap and Black Panther.
Well, first we have the opening part.
Well, yeah,
but
yeah, but-
there's so much shaky cam you can't even tell that it's action.
That's how the opening of a Captain America movie is anymore. Because the Winter Soldier, the opening, like there were moments when like the camera was just like hanging on a string, and there are moments like that. But when there are big, cool action moments, they punch you.
Like
The chase, like what I was getting
Yeah.
at, the chase scene between Cap and Black Panther and
Bucky.
the Winter Soldier.
Bucky,
Yeah.
Captain Bucky O'Hare.
But there's that moment when the Winter Soldier like
Welcome to the show, Jeffrey.
does that flip kick on the
Oh my
motorcycle.
God, yeah.
Like it just spins around
Yeah.
in the air and he gets on and just drives off. That was the first moment in this movie that I'm just like, what?
he actually did that in the theater.
I'm just like
like he sat next to me and he was like, guys,
did he just? Because that's fucking awesome! Like, that moment was fucking awesome!
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there are so many moments in this movie that are fucking awesome! And it's just an incredible action movie. It's one of the best action movies to come out probably in the last 10 years.
yeah.
It's been a minute since there's been something this gorgeous, this
It's
meaty,
what I
and
really,
it's just really
Almost
great.
like the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
it's what I really enjoyed about it was
That's
the
almost been
pacing
10
that they
years.
set
Is it really?
was
Wasn't it? 2008
It was-
was when Iron Man 1 came out. Never mind.
yeah. It
was like
wasn't that
2000.
far ago.
Yeah, but
It was like 4 years ago.
Even the Avengers movies, like none of them have action like this
No,
movie.
like-
this
It
It's
has
Harry-
over the top action,
It's,
but this
it's
is
Harry
like
Potter action.
yeah.
That's the way I describe it. It's Harry Potter action. Like the sequence in Harry Potter, like the last movie, so cool. But it's magic. It's not that. It's not fists.
And one thing
Hulk smash.
well, but there's only like
one
less
thing-
than 2 minutes of that.
One thing I want to say about the Avengers movies is yes, those action sequences are crazy and they are massive, but there's
There's the
not.
opening of Ultron.
Yeah, they're huge. They're big.
It's
but
a
they're
video
not-
game level.
And those action sequences are big and daunting, but they're not as like personal and beautiful as these.
No,
like even the chase sequence where they're covering a lot of ground feels intimate and has weight to it.
And then there's that moment when like the two teams meet up and just go at it.
First, like when the Hawkeye just kind of Gumby's into the movie.
Yeah, just shows up.
Like, why are you here? Huh?
Freaking awesome.
Here to take you away.
Disappointing my kids.
And like when Scarlet Witch like throws Vision.
Let's not talk about that. It's a bit of a spoiler.
No, she just like.
It's a bit of a spoiler.
Wait, this is spoiler free.
We're trying to keep it spoiler free.
Yeah, but that's not really a spoiler. It's like first.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a
30
big
minutes.
That's like halfway through
Well,
the movie.
No!
That's a chunk of the movie.
This movie's like 3 hours, Davey.
It's not that long. It feels long.
Yeah, it does.
It's not that long. But
she throws him through the floor like 38 floors.
Well, I think
onto the
what
ground.
happens if I was reading.
I'm not saying anything about it. It's just like.
If I was looking at it right, it was like she changed Vision, because that's Vision's power. One of his powers is to change his molecular density, either to make him ridiculously heavy or ridiculously light, and almost and like a ghost. And I think what
Martian
she did, and I think what she did was the reason he just kept going was I think she forcibly changed his molecular density to be like tons. Because that's what it looked like. It looked like he was changing shape.
She just pushed him through the floor. Like she wrapped her ghostiness around him and shoved him down into the earth. And he can't become intangible to a non-physical force.
Yeah.
So she just grabbed him and shoved him into the ground. Like I think you're overthinking that.
Probably, I don't care.
But
it sounds
Martian
fun.
Manhunter got his ass kicked a lot in Justice League.
Yeah,
but
well, when
he's
you're
intangible. However,
every episode, like I love Martian Manhunter and I love his powers, but why is it every episode he's worthless?
Because they couldn't make him as powerful as he actually is, because he's Superman but better.
Yeah, he's Superman's strength, can blend into anything, can morph into like a dragon,
Shape-shifting,
telepathy, X-ray vision. He's awesome.
Superman has that.
Yeah, but he's Superman but green.
Greener man.
he looks like a parasaurolophus.
So, but then the airport scene.
Oh my
The airport
gosh.
scene is probably the greatest.
Everything, and like when Spider-Man comes in, because like everyone thought like, oh, he'll just have a cameo. No, he's part of the.
He's not Luke Skywalker.
He's in a pretty decent chunk of this movie, but like. One thing I noticed was in the comment section after that first trailer that had him in it, like everybody's like, he sounds too young, he's too much CG, and I'm like, it's gorgeous CG.
Yeah, it's like Deadpool CG.
But B, he's not too young. Spider-Man's supposed to be 15 when he starts out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is early Spider-Man.
Yeah.
This is 6 months after Spider-Man.
This is tracksuit Spider-Man.
This is 6 months after Spider-Man. So he's supposed to be
spider.
He's supposed to be 15 years old. Not like Tobey Maguire that was like nearly 30 years old. I'm not even kidding. He was 27 when that movie came out.
Oh my gosh.
He's got a terminal case of baby face.
Yeah, he does.
But he
Could have been worse. Could have been Elijah Wood.
He's like 43 and still looks younger than me.
But this is I'm going to declare it right now. This is
Will you say it in stone?
I will.
Sign your blood?
Yes. This is
What?
This is the greatest filmed Spider-Man ever. It is. He is hilarious. He dances around the battlefield in an incredible way.
Oh yeah.
You have a metal arm?
Holy-
That's so cool!
And he's so fun and naive, like a kid should be.
He's exactly what
He's a
Spider-Man should be
fanboy.
at this point. He's a 15-year-old. Imagine in a world where, like, all these people that we idolize in comic books and stuff were real people, but they're, like, real celebrities. You can't meet them. And then one of them just shows up at your house and says, hey, you want to be one? And you're like,
hey, I know
fuck
about you.
yeah!
You're like, no, you don't. You don't know me. I'm nobody.
Oh,
really?
no, I'm not. And then, like, he gives you these super cool things, and then you get to meet all these super cool people.
And then you get to fight them.
Yeah! Are you kidding me?
You get to see how your superpowers stack up to the superpowers you've been watching since you were 8 years old.
Yeah! It's
That's
so cool.
And he plays that so well.
Because that is exactly what anyone would do. I've always looked at people, and that's my... with
You
like,
haven't been
lots
in many
of movies.
fights. There's usually not this much talking.
Yeah.
Oh, just...
Sorry.
But like for Spider-Man, there is.
Yeah.
And they hadn't captured that in any of the other two movie universes.
Like, they got close with Andrew Garfield
Little bit,
in the
yeah.
first one. Like,
Yeah.
oh no! My weakness! Small knives!
Yeah, the first Amazing Spider-Man movie was very close to what I wanted from
Like,
Spider-Man.
he had that cockiness,
Yeah.
but he wasn't a nerd.
Yeah, no, he was way too handsome.
He was though.
He was one of those nerds that's like, yeah, I'm really smart. I'm also cool with the ladies, but I'm awkward.
I also
But that's not a nerd.
am the greatest thing that ever lived.
Like this Spider-Man is like, well, actually,
Yeah, no, this Spider-Man.
not quite naturally.
This
but-
Spider-Man is great, and he's so great, and I love it.
And what I'm
Love
liking
it.
about
Yeah.
this is, like, he is a good enough actor to where I'm seeing that they could stretch this out with him and make him be Spider-Man for a while.
Yeah.
Because, like, with a lot of things that we're noticing, like, people
They're gonna
keep talking-
Daniel Radcliffe him.
Well, yeah. Well, my thing with Daniel Radcliffe with Harry Potter is that was a one-in-a-lifetime thing.
Yeah.
For Harry Potter. Harry Potter was one of those series that could have just been awful and stopped after movie 3.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. They were so lucky to have an amazing actor like Daniel Radcliffe and the other
the whole
two.
cast.
And the whole cast.
He grew as an actor.
And grew
too,
as an
like-
actor and just kept getting better instead of some of those people where like some of those movies where they try and they're
Boyhood.
too scared. Like they're too scared either to cast a younger person or they're just not lucky enough to find a younger person and it just ruins it. Like Percy Jackson is one of those movies like they picked too old of a person, they took too much out of it because of the way it was, and to me it ruined those movies. Not only that, but like Christopher Columbus I don't think read the books.
Yeah.
And like that's something I think they could do with this Spider-Man.
Is it
because
Christopher Columbus or Chris Columbus?
It's Chris Columbus.
Okay, because I thought Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
In 1492.
I don't care. His company is named 1492.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Yeah,
I do
know.
puns, and that's bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's real bad.
it's real bad. But
I get
like,
punched in the face for my puns, and that's bad. You made a patent off of that? You poor sorry,
But, like,
sorry
I
soul.
think like because we keep seeing in the MCU that like they're not getting any younger. Robert Downey Jr. is like almost 50. He's almost 50.
He's
Hugh
pretty-
Jackman's like almost 50, if
Hugh
not
Jackman.
over.
Hugh Jackman's leaving. Though.
Yeah, Hugh
after
Jackman's leaving.
after the
Well,
next
so is-
Wolverine movie.
so
But so is
Robert Downey.
Robert
after
Downey and like
Infinity
Chris
War.
Hemsworth
yeah, probably.
and all these guys are apparently leaving. Mark Ruffalo is apparently not going to be doing it anymore.
Chris
Like,
Evans doesn't want to. Chris Evans wanted out, and that's like one of the hints that I was taking from them doing Civil War. But
Yeah.
but like, and my thing with that is like
I
they're
can see
all
that.
such. And I'm worried about that because Marvel has been doing so well, and like Robert Downey Jr. Stanley himself has said, "This is the man that I envisioned when I created Iron Man."
yeah.
And to see him go as Iron Man kind of crushes me a little.
Yeah.
And Mark Ruffalo, I love Mark Ruffalo. And I love his character as the Hulk so much.
Mhm.
And all these great actors.
Except we haven't really seen his character as
No,
well.
and that's my thing, is I wanted a Hulk movie with Mark Ruffalo.
I just want a Hulk movie. We got a Hulk movie that was all right.
And
But-
even that was...
So I guess technically the start of the MCU was actually that awful Hulk movie. Because the Incredible Hulk was after that one.
No, the start of the MCU was Iron Man.
Yeah.
I know.
Hulk doesn't count. Hulk doesn't count it doesn't. It's not in the same universe. There's no room for that face here. It's not in it. It's not part of it.
Doesn't Robert Downey Jr. come over?
The
and
Incredible
talk about
Hulk-
the Incredible Hulk?
Goes off of that movie.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
He talks to Robert Downey Jr. in the movie.
Yeah, he talks to Robert Downey Jr. He
As
doesn't.
Iron Man.
It doesn't go off of Hulk. Stop it. Just stop.
But
that.
my thing is,
You don't get the accident in the Incredible Hulk. So his origin movie is Hulk.
That's bad.
It's bad, but it's actually the start.
I doubt it, but that.
So the MCU was 13 years in the making.
Oh, shush. But what
that movie doesn't count, no matter how
I
much you
really,
say.
I just, my thing
The
with,
Hulk looked like the Jolly Green Giant.
Yeah.
Wore his dumbass purple pants. He looked like he was made out of Gumby.
Yes?
It was disgusting. That movie looks gross.
2003 CG, Davey.
Even for the time.
this was the time when we had Star Wars episodes 1, 2.
That movie
3.
looks.
Not 2.
That movie
It's got-
looks
It's got good CG.
awful.
And
The panels.
Because George Lucas had money splurging out of his, you know what.
the comic,
Every
like,
orifice.
when they were trying to do the comic booky thing with it, that looks gross. The Hulk
Silly.
looks.
I'm not saying it was a
ridiculous.
well-funded movie.
It's a terrible movie.
I know.
It's horribly acted.
it should be.
It's horribly done.
It should be Iron Man.
It's the
That starts it.
worst.
It needs to be Iron Man.
That movie has like an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Really?
Yeah. It's a terrible movie.
8 people saw this movie.
Wasn't bad. And well, 10 people saw this movie. 8 people were like, it wasn't bad. The other 2 were like, really?
I mean,
We're getting into a weird hole here.
That's every episode, Davey.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. Anyway.
Is
Um,
it the highest? No, probably not.
But my thing with like this new Civil War.
What do you
like,
mean?
this-
Is it the highest rated what?
It's the highest rated 2000s comic book movie?
2000s?
You have
Probably
to
not.
come into
I think
the
it would be
realize.
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Spider-Man was good.
Or Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Pig.
I might be exaggerating there,
I like-
too. It might
I
not
like-
be an 80, but it's fresh.
I
It
like-
should not be.
I enjoy Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man to a point. Then
I think he's a decent Peter Parker. when
Yeah,
he's not.
He's a decent Peter Parker. He's a terrible Spider-Man.
yeah, he's a terrible Spider-Man.
But
I just didn't enjoy how much he cried.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, I'm just gonna climb your wall if that's okay.
no,
He's a-
let's talk about this movie. But no, it's
Got off
it's
on
We're running out of things to not spoil, Davey.
let's talk about this movie.
It's
But it's
it's a really good movie. I'd rate it very, very well. I'd say everyone should see this, and everyone
Oh my
will
God,
see this.
definitely if you have been watching the MCU movies
Go see it.
since Iron Man, or even if you've dropped off, if you've just like seen a few of them, go see this movie because
So
it's not hard to follow. It's really good.
It's silly.
It's very fun.
It makes jokes at itself.
The
It
only
jokes so much.
the only
it's fun.
the only two there are 3 complaints that I have for this movie,
Please.
and which are reasons I probably won't give it a 6.
Okay.
It's the camera work at times is really bad.
Yeah.
Like the same thing happened with Captain America: The Winter Soldier, like there are parts where the shaky cam is just fucking everywhere, and there are parts when just nothing is happening, but the camera is still going.
I had a bad part because like it's in the very beginning when Captain America gets blown out of a building from an explosion and bounces off of like 2 different things before hitting the floor, and it's just this direct down look.
Yeah.
And the environment is so bad looking in that shot that it looked like it was basically like a two-dimensional picture that the stunt actor like was bouncing off of a couple of things before hitting the ground.
And, like
that's something that also happened with the Winter Soldier. Like the openings for these past couple Captain America movies have been very cold. Like if you just watch the opening action sequence for Winter Soldier and Civil War, you would think that these movies are terrible, terrible movies.
It's
like the opening of the Winter Soldier is really boring.
I actually enjoyed part of it.
The action part is really boring.
Yeah, the action part.
And the opening for Civil War is silly and disjointed and weird.
And shaky!
And shaky. And
I was watching that from here, and I'm like,
but
that is silly.
That's basically how I felt when I watched that first part. I'm like, ooh.
But that's the first thing.
I feel.
The second thing is every time we went to a new location, it just dumped the name of the location.
That is my biggest thing. Is that like if you
1991.
If you haven't seen this movie, you've seen movies.
Panama.
Yeah, where like they'll take you to a new place.
Brazil.
Like in Avengers 2, it's like typed out in the little corner.
Yeah.
And if you watch any other movie, it's like Uruguay, bottom right or bottom left or bottom.
But in this movie, it's Uganda, and it spreads the entire screen.
These guys' heads and my head together do not take up as much of this screen as much as those words take up the screen.
Lagos.
Yeah, it's so obnoxious.
It's really obnoxious.
I thought it was just one-time thing just to show like, this is going to be big. You need to pay attention. And it was. The first time they do it, I'm like, wow, this is a big scene.
But then they do it 8 more times.
Yeah, and it's so silly because I really don't need to know that you guys are in Panama.
And those are 2 nitpicky things. But the one thing is, and I mentioned this before, this movie just doesn't feel heavy enough.
Yeah,
like it was marketed as something that was gonna be like bad things are gonna happen.
Wait.
People are gonna.
Like,
brace yourself.
Should we wait so we can edit this out? We'll wait so we can edit this out until Simon's. So
we're editing you out.
Okay.
Civil War.
Go away.
I fixed Jeffrey's computer.
I'm gonna stand over here.
I am eternal. Okay, and
But this movie didn't really feel like it had enough weight to it. Like, Civil War is... We can talk about what Civil War is supposed to be all day. Like, yes, Civil War is supposed to have gravity to it. People are supposed to die. Bad things are supposed to happen. Irrevocable problems are supposed to come into effect. But this movie was marketed...
I don't know, we have Scarlet Witch now.
Yeah. But this movie...
Oh no, they died.
Yeah. But what this movie was marketed...
Oh shit, Scarlet Witch died! We're fucked!
abandon ship! Abandon ship!
What this movie... Shut the fuck up. What this movie was marketed as was something that was supposed to be like, this is going to be something that's going to be a kick in the stomach. Like, friends are going to fight friends. Bad things are going to come from this. This is a movie that is about consequences. And there are, like, towards the end, there is a hint of that. That was the first moment where you're finally like, okay, this is about
more than just
things coming to fruition. Like, consequences coming to those who deserve them,
And
and in some cases regardless of whether they deserve them.
And
But it waits so long for something to hit you.
because when I was watching this movie, like, it was advertised as that, and when you say up until that last moment, it gives you that. And when I was seeing that, you can root for either side and not feel wrong in that movie. There is a point where you're like, oh, I should have never, ever rooted for that person. But at the same time, you don't feel that bad still. No matter what.
Unless you're rooting for Iron Man, because Iron Man's wrong.
Yeah. Well, like, even so, like, you don't feel...
But I'm that guy.
I root for Iron Man because I like Iron Man.
Well, also, like, we can't let we basically can't let us run amok. We have to be controlled by a government so we don't get out of hand.
We'll save,
just like Bucky Barnes.
We'll save
being controlled and got out of. Wasn't out of hand.
We'll save that for the spoiler cast.
And
we'll talk about our sides later. But
yeah, but like with that, like, there's no like I'm watching this and I find flaws in both people. I find flaws in both
because they're good characters.
Well, yeah. I know that they're good characters, and it's supposed to be that. But in Civil War, I felt that there was an obvious, this person's more right than the other. In this movie, it's not as obvious until the end of who's right, who's wrong. Which they may have chosen to do that, but in Civil War, straight up, it's I'm right, that guy's wrong. Obviously.
Yeah.
And like like they use logic in the movie to prove that they're both kind of like you could be either side.
And that's one of the things that I liked about the movie.
You're not wrong, but I think you're wrong.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I liked about the movie rather than the comic book. Like the only thing I had an issue with was it didn't feel like there was gravity to it, but I really liked the way the different sides were handled, because like each side got moments to talk about their point of view, and each side had good points, and it's not so clearly black and white. And it kind of is in the comic book. Not quite, but this one is extremely gray. And it is one of my favorite Marvel movies so far. It's probably my second favorite or third, but it's really, really well done. I'm gonna give I'm gonna score it now. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 6. It's incredible, but I wish it was hefty.
I'm gonna actually give it a 6 out of 6 for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
Like, yes, there is that one shot that bothers me to no end.
Yeah.
And the letters are big and dumb and stupid.
Yeah, but those are nitpicky things.
Those are nitpicky things, but
like if those were my only problems with this movie, I would give it a 6. But
like the airport scene alone automatically makes this movie for me a 5 out of 5. Because, like, the characters are all great. They all get enough screen time to, like, matter in the movie. Like, even Hawkeye, who literally has no business being in this movie at all, shows up, and he's still great.
This was the first movie that made me like Hawkeye a lot.
Like, the part whenever he's fighting Black Panther, he shoots at him, Black Panther blocks the arrows, and he goes, I don't think we've met before. I'm Hawkeye. It's like, I don't care.
And you're like, okay, you're cool.
But Jeffrey,
like,
give us a score.
Black Panther, like, introduced, like, his origin story is this movie.
Yeah.
And it works.
It's enough, yeah.
Like, so much of this is like, yeah, this is what Dawn of Justice tried to do.
Yeah.
But they did it.
Yeah, they actually did what John of Justice wanted to do.
Granted, I think I'm the only one here who hasn't read the comic book of Civil War.
Well, like I said, I read bits and pieces. Like, I didn't fully.
So, like, I don't have that to, like, compared to and how like gravity taking it is.
Yeah.
So like things that were in this movie for the Marvel Cinematic Universe felt heavy. Like
Yeah.
shit did happen, but it's not the way that you expected it.
Yeah.
Like things are a bit in shambles.
Mhm.
As somebody, I think it was Black Nerd Comedy, as he like kind of said like whenever Spider-Man references Empire Strikes Back, that's kind of what this movie feels like.
Yeah.
Because it ends on not a happy note. Like things are kind of bad right now.
Yeah.
So setting up, it could get better.
Yeah.
Like
Can we give this-
things can be good.
Compare this to
So-
Empire for the MCU.
I mean, they're both Disney now.
And it is kind of smack dab in the middle of the
Yeah,
story.
because like
Yeah.
this is the middle ground. This is where I feel this is
This
the,
is
the-
ground zero.
Jeffrey, you give
But-
it a score out of 6.
Yeah, I'll give it a. Can I go into decimals?
I'd
Because
prefer if you didn't.
that's sad, isn't it? I'd give it a 5.5 out of 6 because it is an amazing.
It's a fraction.
yeah, it's
It's
even
5.5.
At least not 5.3 or something.
5 pi.
Well,
But it is an amazing movie, and I will
Yes.
say that I loved watching this movie. I didn't get bored with it at any point.
So you gave it a pi plus 2.
But like when I watched this, there were those few things, like Davey was saying, the weight didn't feel as much as we needed, and those words really irked me. I know it's not the biggest thing, and it is not.
You were much more irked by that than anybody else.
I really was. For some reason, that just got on my nerves. But I really loved the movie. The characters were great. There was lots of, I feel, growth for this team
Yeah.
that they have built, and the bonds between them have been shown. Like, it's not this fantasized team that it will always work. They have shown you that it is possible for them to not.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes
it's great
a
for
little
that.
tense at the dinner table.
But yeah, those are our thoughts on Civil War. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, hit that like button. If you want,
Do those things.
If you have seen Civil War, let us know what you thought in the comments below. If you haven't, let us know what you thought of our review.
Post comment.
We-
or even like comment on the Facebook pages that we show these off in.
Yeah.
Because we love talking.
Yeah.
We
Share.
talked a lot, as you can see from 50 minutes.
Yes. Share on Facebook, do all that fun stuff. I am Davey here with TrebleChin Entertainment.
I'm Drew here with TrebleChin Entertainment.
And I'm Jeffrey.
Thank you guys,
Just Jeffrey.
thank you
Just
guys,
Jeffrey.
thank you guys so much for watching. Take it easy.
Goodbye.